Welcome back, VNturers. It's time for another discussion about VNs. I am Emar, and together with Tauros, we shall discuss another monthly report. Another month is behind us, so it's high time to report what we've been reading. So, Tauros, what have you been reading? If you could tell us, please, please, please.
Well, last month, I suppose I say, for last month's Readport, I discussed the interesting visual novel title, Nope, Nope, Nurses. And wouldn't you know it, it is part one of a trilogy of visual novels. And so, of course, this Readport, I have to talk about its sequel, Nope, 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 Nurses. It is an incredible naming scheme. That's half the reason I'm continuing. I'm not going to lie.
Wait a moment. Would that make this a part of the series in a Nope verse?
We have the Nope verse. The VN cinematic universe of abusive nurses with this strange main character. Anyways, the general premise is that our main character suffers from a very unique disease where he must bust his nuts every 3 hours. Otherwise, he is under excruciating pain. And normally he was able to live his life doing his own thing, but he wound up breaking both of his hands. And now he is stuck in the closest hospital in town, one that has a reputation for having the worst mannered nurses known to man. And so now he is trying to deal with his unique condition while he has some terrible nurses taking care of him, but not in the good kind of way, taking care of him in a terrible way. The first Nope Nope Nurses had its issues, and I mentioned that before. Two of the main ones were that the femdom H material wasn't particularly interesting and whatnot, and that the other issue was that all of the characters seemed to be in a vacuum. It would just be the main character and whatever nurse who was taking care of him, and apparently no one else existed in the world, where we just never saw any other characters on screen with them at the same time, or any other characters for that matter.
How convenient.
Yes, I guess there's that aspect of convenience, but then it's also the... you notice very quickly that the script only seems to be dialogue between two characters, and then, of course, the narration. And it's like, okay, wow, we have no variety here. And I feel like that's a problem several VNs have, incidentally, but anyways. So, Nope, Nope, Nope Nurses follows the same structure as the first, where a nurse is assigned to our main character for a week, and then they leave and a new nurse is assigned for 3 nurses in total. Our first one is Numajiri, who has a sickly sweet voice, who yet abuses and insults and mocks our main character with all sorts of honeyed words. And this is following the same, I guess you could say, strengths and flaws as the first one. From the first title, of course, there's this being a Nukige, there's plenty of H scenes and plenty of that kind of material for anyone looking for the sort of femdom Nukige stuff. But on the other hand, it's still pretty much just the main character and Nurse Numajiri the entire time, and we're not really getting anywhere with any semblance of a story. It's just, hey, here's the stuff, and it's just, you know exactly what to expect. And so, unfortunately, when we started out, I wasn't having too much of high hopes for the sequel. But then we get the next nurse, Kiritani, who seems very angelic and nice, but has an absolutely brutal and ruthless side to her as well. But more importantly, this is the part where we start seeing the nurses again from the first title. And what's more, we start to see a lot more character interactions. We start to see like multiple characters on screen at once. we see some of the nurses talking to the other nurses, and we see the dialogue, and it's like, oh my god, just like that, suddenly, it's the enjoyment of this VN picks up so much. Because now we have character interactions. We get to see the very tense relations between like this new cast of the OG3, as because they're the seniors in this hospital, and so they have a lot more authority to their name. And meanwhile, there were the characters of the previous title who have their own personalities and behaviors, but they also have their different morals. Some of them are much more eager to actually be nurses, and some of them are much more selfish and more self-centered or lazy. But then we get to see the interactions all of these characters start having. Between the ways that we have like Kurokawa, who is a complete wimpy, sniveling mess, and the ways that she is at odds with some of the others. We get to see how like Tachibana is very serious nurse, and she's just trying to do her job and putting up with her main character's bullshit. And she's smart enough to like stay focused on her job while she's still trying not to fall for her sadistic senior's bullying tactics behind the scenes. And it really sells the whole aspect that this is one super toxic hospital with all sorts of awful nurses. Because it's not just seeing the nurses take advantage of our main character. Now we also get to see the relationships and how shitty they treat each other, and the different ways in which some of them are looking out for each other, but some of the ways that this workplace environment is a whole lot of petty backstage stabbing.
So if I get that correctly so far, what you said, in the sequel, they introduced characters, interactions. What a revolutionary feature.
It is incredible. It is like a door has been opened and blinding light has now flooded this title.
Oh god.
And yes, that's seriously... it's seriously one of the best parts about it, but I don't want to gas it up too much, because after all, this is still a Nukige focused on nurses with awful personalities in very ridiculous sexualized encounters so that we can get those H scenes. That is still first...
This time,
What's
being ridiculous and toxic to each other in addition to the protagonist, right?
Yes. And now there's some more variety. So now, in my mind, it's more entertaining, because after all, we need some variety. We need the plot going somewhere. And I think that's very much appreciated, starting with Kiritani's arc in Nope 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 Nurses. Then we get onto the third nurse, Tendo, who is very unhinged and very sadistic in a very gleeful way. And this trend continues. We get to see more of the nurses. We get to see more of the interactions and the hierarchy involved between these awful people and how much they abuse it or how much they're trying to stick up for each other. Interestingly, this title ends on a cliffhanger. And I don't want to say too much more, but they're building up a sort of plot.
No.
They're finally building up an actual kind of story involved into some hook for a third title. And I thought,
no, does that mean that no verse has a trilogy? Oh my god.
yes, the trilogy with its rousing conclusion. How can anyone say no?
Oh.
Yes.
It definitely, hearing you talk about it, definitely makes me say, oh no.
And I was thinking more about what this series means. Because it's a very popular series. You wouldn't expect that at first. This sounds like just any sort of shovelware nukiges that get pumped out all the time. But this series started out as an indie webcomic online, and it built up a large following. And now here we are years later, it's exploded into this VN trilogy. It has its own 9-episode anime series. It's got a few doujins, it's got one absolutely abysmal fighting game, and there is even a figurine, like an official figurine for one of the characters.
I knew it's a no verse, okay? I knew it.
And honestly, to be serious, that's kind of why I wanted to get into this series, is that I wanted to know, am I missing out on something here? It's like, what is this success story involved in this Nope Nope Nurses? Like, is this just the sort of thing where it had a unique premise and it was in the right time in the right place, and now it's, not to be mean about it, it's milking its fans for all that it's worth, because this is something somewhat unique about it? Or is it the sense that there's something deeper, something quality, like in a literary sense, that's causing fans to get attached to this? And that's a question that I really wanted to have answered for a while now, and I finally got around to reading the first Nope Nope Nurses. And when I finished that title, I still wasn't sure what the answer was. It had its moments, it had its flaws, but ultimately I was still a little confused of what made it what it is today. And I've done some more reflection, and especially after reading this one, is that I think some of its main appeal is in its outlandish characters. At its core, this is kind of a comedic title, because I mean, how else do you explain this premise of the main character who's got this whack condition, and it's like, oh man, it just so happens it's gonna be some awful nurses to take care of. It's like that's such a ridiculous premise. It's the kind of thing you have to expect out of a Nukige.
Okay, so stopping for a moment and thinking about that title, you came to a conclusion that maybe this is just the right recipe for a concoction of having one joke, but it's executed so hilariously and builds upon it that as long as they start introducing basic concepts such as character interactions, the joke just works. And in this case, it is a parody of over-the-top Nukige in the most convenient way possible.
Well, hold up. It's not a parody, because it is playing it straight. This is a Nukige, and this is all about awful nurses taking advantage and our poor MC getting, figuratively whipped. And so that's the question I had, is like, is this just, the wink-off material that's doing its job very well? Or is there something literary more to it? And
but it's played straight for such a comedic and absurdish, outlandish setting that it all comes back to being funny again. Because regardless of what you say to me about it being played straight, I don't think a sane person reads it straight, thinking, "Oh yeah, that happens in my next in my hospital next door. Yeah, this is common case."
Well, see. When I say it's played straight, I don't mean to say this is realistic. I'm not saying this
That's what I'm saying.
No. I'm saying
the game pretends to be this being real and plays as if it's real, but you as a reader are like, no. Let's be honest. Like, this is straight up comedy. You're pulling those moves out of your ass.
No, stop. Because there's a difference between being realistic and being a comedy. Because this is a Nukige. The point is to be, in a sense, erotic. It's just supposed to get your rocks off. And for that sense, there are the H scenes where the nurses abuse our main character in various ways. And the story plays it straight, where, yes, it's intending to get the reader off, because this is the kind of dommy, sort of abusive, mean way to get the reader excited. Okay? And so when the VN is going down that line, personally, I can't say I'm all that interested in it. I don't think the scenes are that good or anything, but I mean, I guess it's accomplishing the job. I don't know. But then there are the other aspects of it, where you have some of the characters who are very over the top. And I think that was more apparent in the first one, where you have Yamaguchi, who she's the Kansai delinquent type, and she is so rowdy and ridiculous with her methods that you just can't help but sit there and laugh. And then you have like characters like Kurokawa, who is my honest to God favorite in just how expressive she is. There are so many times when she's either gloating about how much better she is than the rest of the shitty nurses here, or when she cowers whenever anyone gets in her face, or whenever she's whining pathetically about how the whole world is out to get her, or how needy she is with the main character. She's in every scene, her emotions are just at like 110%.
Oh, she definitely sounds the best at being the shittiest.
In a sense, yes. And it's like those kinds of characters were what stood out to me, instead of Tachibana, who is very straight-laced. She's just trying to do her job here, and she's trying to grin and bear it with the main character. And those H scenes with Tachibana are the most subdued. It's the most focusing on the abusive side of it that Nope Nope Nurses is obviously trying to deliver. And I think those are the highlights. And it's very interesting when there's this balance or there's this mix of trying to have the ridiculousness and the inherent comedy involved along with the H material. I'm not exactly sure how well it's coming together or how well it's balanced, but I can say at least this is a very unique experience reading these titles. I'm not sure if you can get this very strange kind of roller coaster of emotions and intentions reading this as with any other kind of title. Sure, there are plenty of other nukiges out there that rely on the comedy sort of thing, and you kind of walk in knowing that and you laugh along the way, as all the H material is kind of treated as a joke. And then you also have like the straight-laced kinds of nukiges, where it's played up very directly. They're intending to give you a certain vibe or a sort of emotion to these H scenes, and they deliver. But Nope Nope Nurses is a kind of strange mix where you're not really ever sure what kind of title you're getting from this point on. Whether it's the kind of silliness in a word, or whether you're in for a freaking half-hour long H scene about some awful abusive words and actions thrown against our poor whimpering main character. Or now, here we are in Nope 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 Nurses, where it's actually starting to build in some aspects of a story and character interactions, and even character depth too with some of the nurses. It makes it a little hard to kind of say what to think about this title, but on the other hand, it's like, at least I'm thinking about this more than some other titles I've read, which have gone, in one ear and right out the other, so I gotta give some credit to this,
So let me get this straight. Let me parse it. This strange beast of a title. A combination of playing it straight, compounded with ridiculous characters and or the situation therein, is intriguing enough combination that you just don't know whether or not it's the comedy nukiga or the play by the book straight up nukiga, right?
Yes, I think so.
That's its weird appeal, and for you to go to the bottom of it, why it's so good, you just need to read all the doujin and fighting games, okay? Therein lies all the answers.
You need to be a real fan. Yeah, that's...
Get the real fan. Yeah.
Yeah, get those posers out of here. Any tourists BTFO'd.
Yeah, exactly. You need to read the extensive Nob Wiki.
Oh my goodness. So yes, like I mentioned, the third one in this series is clearly being set up with some sort of stakes involved in the story. And I'm really wondering how this is going to turn out, because I feel like this is the make or break moment for determining like how good this series is. Whether this story, it doesn't even need to be good, but whether if this story keeps the same kind of weirdness inherent to this title, or if it's just a very failing attempt at trying to be serious that falls flat on its face.
The next title will be the determining factor. It will be the Nobverse endgame for you.
It's awful when you phrase it like that. It's still very difficult to say whether I recommend this. I think I mentioned it before, but if any of the femdom premise or some screenshots you could probably find of how the typical tone of this VN is, if any of that is a turnoff, then absolutely no. Like, don't read this. You're just going to be miserable for a lot of it. But if you're at least open to the idea, or hey, if you like that sort of thing, then so far I do recommend this series, or at least the titles I have read so far. Like I said, there's been long stretches of me being really bored with this script and what's going on, and there have also been some incredible moments in these titles, and some amazing characters who are sticking in my mind longer than I really thought they would. So, this is a very polarizing aspect so far.
Okay, this is a rare moment. I need to address our listeners. So if I ever took anything from this, speaking about this title, is subscribe to monthly Nukiga retrospective by Tauros. See you next month for the end game.
I don't want to hear that from some people who... You've read, like, Euphoria. Don't give me that.
Yeah, but that's actually good.
Oh, see? Oh, here we go. Now we're going to gatekeep Nukigas. This is what we've come to. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to VNture Podcast. Oh my gosh. Well, that's what I've been reading. Okay, and if you haven't been reading Euphoria, then what have you been up to, MR?
Speaking of number 3, as you go to the nope verse, I have been reading Rance 03. So what a title it is. So it's a third title in the Rance series, taking place shortly after the second game. And unlike the 02, this one is huge. I mean, it's huge adventure because 02 was pretty short in comparison. The bottom line is in this part of the story, Rance is thrown into the internal turmoil between two major superpowers. The titular fall of Liezas, so the country of Liezas, has lost its capital city in a day. So it has been conquered. And such, they're forming the rebellion, the liberation forces, and hijinks ensue. It's very hard to talk, unlike with our spoiler-full review of all talks with Demon's Root here, without spoilers, because this game is so chock full of references to the previous titles, to current happenstances, and a lot of foreshadowing of things to come. It is hard for me to describe the joy I had seeing some name just hinted up during casual conversation. I'm like, yeah, I know that guy. Yeah. Immediately jumping to that dialogue. Or I placed specifically one screenshot in the background that runs. There was one period that Rance encountered, what is this old dude is doing in this encampment? And I'm like, dude, this is one of the most powerful people in the entire world, and you just don't know it yet. Holy hell, this title is something else. I have so much fun trying to figure out the connections that aren't made obvious, even by the virtue of similarity in names. So, over the course of this story, you have Liberation Army, something happens, you make enough detours so you visit a lot of different parts of the world, trying to combine or trying to gather 3 items. It's like you're trying to create a MacGuffin of something gathering. But it's such a roundabout way of finding those key items, and such comedic hijinks ensue. You meet so varied such a colorful and varied cast of characters. It makes me laugh all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And
And this is Rance 03, which is a remaster of Rance 3. What is it?
Oh yeah, that's true. I forgot to mention that the first 3 titles are so incredibly old. They all got a modern remaster. So this is the 3rd one in the modern remaster era that is more aligned with the canonicity of the Rance universe. And the early titles had a lot of things being retconned, and now it neatly all falls into place. I mean, it doesn't help that Rance 1, 2, and 3 are so old they became abandonware and are very hard to run on the modern software. So it is very much needed, and then they got remakes in form of Rance 01, Rance 02, and now Rance 03. Also, speaking of the remake, this is the only title, that has voice acting.
Oh
and
my
that
gosh.
caught me so off guard. Some of the voices I hear, I'm like, that is not how you sounded in my head. What the hell? But it's such a high quality. Some of those voices just won me over.
Oh, that's amazing.
For some of them, I'm like, wait. Because so far, in every single title, they had to make up for the lack of voice acting with sound effects or the OST that run in the background. Here, the voice acting sells a lot of the emotions you don't need those sound effects to sell on. And it's just a different atmosphere. And it's super interesting that I hear those characters that I always imagine in my head how they sound.
Nice. Is it now? I'm assuming just like with typical titles that this like the voice acting is only for certain main story scenes. It's not literally every line in the game, right?
Every line in the game.
Oh my god, it is.
Yeah.
Wow. The series jumped from having no voice acting to suddenly going all out like that. Wow.
Yes. And it's not on a small title because it's huge. I think I sunk about 30 hours in it, and I'm like 30% in. This title is huge. Like, I feel like just now I broken out of the first act in the story, and it starts ramping up. And it's so mind-boggling given the fact that they never had voice acting, now they have, and it's huge. This title is insanely large, or at least from this perspective I have right now. Damn. I'm flabbergasted. I mean, it does have that almost every single event I read, I'm grinning from ear to ear. It's almost like the Rance series has only 2 states. Your face will always look like a banana. It will be curved upside or downside, because you either will have a funny, hilarious scene or the most evil thing you've imagined.
And of course, some of the interesting aspects is seeing Rance's, I guess, reactions to this stuff, how he acts, how his party handles stuff, right?
Yeah. Specifically, in this title, Zone 03 is the first time in the series we encounter what is somewhat of their implementation of a demon lord trope from anime, right? So they are called fiends, and they are immortal creatures that you cannot harm. They aren't evil, but they are so above you, they are disinterested. They can't do anything to human because they cannot be harmed by the laws of the universe. And they are terrifying force. What to do with having an unstoppable force? This is the first title in the series that introduces them. It's so interesting to see a dispassionate, powerful foe and that's not the evil one. That they are way more evil common people than this. Someone who is so powerful they are disinterested in, and causing chaos or spreading evil. It's a very interesting concept, I gotta say. And for as much as an amoral, hedonistic character Rance is, he's nowhere near the level of the people that are truly reprehensible in this title.
Interesting. Did you play or read or experience the first Rance 3?
No.
Okay.
I have refrained from playing the originals just on the off chance I get spoiled on the remakes. So I wanted to start with the remakes. I will most likely go back and try to experience or play if I can run it. If not, then maybe there are some let's play. Experience the first runs, the runs 1, runs 2, and runs 3 before the remakes. I'll try to do that. But I just didn't want to get spoiled.
Remasters are always a very interesting area because on the one hand, they're designed for modern audiences because, hey, here's all the spruced up graphics and gameplay and characters and, hey, voice acting, you know? On the other hand, they're also intended for longtime fans of the series, and it's very interesting when you have to create this remaster, balancing the new stuff and staying faithful to the story versus any changes and how they affect things. And so I was wondering if you had any familiarity with the previous, because that's a very interesting area to explore.
Nope, I hadn't. The only way I can deduce the story is because I've played the next ones. So I can more or less predict what will happen, or I have some ideas of how the story could go. For example, just yesterday, I've saved before what I anticipate will be a turning point in the series, because that place will be referenced till the end of series. So that's what I look forward to. Like, how did they picture that turning point? That will forever change how the next Rances are portrayed and change his speech even.
Wow. But yeah,
so for anybody who's listening and playing, I'm before the hyper building. So
thanks for the warning to everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. That's super cool to see you, you know, going through a series you love so much and then getting a new entry, but not new in a way. You know some things, but still plenty new. And oh my God, that's nice. That sounds so fun.
Yeah, and I remember how much I enjoyed the Rance 9, in which they often reference people I just met right now in Rance 3. Like, there's a very cool character appearing in the Rance 4 and 9. That is referenced by one of the wise old mages as the son of Toma. And I'm like, who the hell is Toma, okay? And yeah, he's in the game. He's the legendary general of the Hellmanian army. Like, oh my God, I know that. I know who you are. It's cool. It has me squealing like a fangirl being on a Justin Bieber concert sometimes, okay?
Hey, fanboying for a series you like is one of the best feelings.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. All right, but that's awesome to hear. Best of luck for your future Rance 03 readings.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll definitely be back next month to talk about more things Rance.
Nice. Well, thank you everyone for listening to our episode and hearing what we've been up to this past month and the titles we've been reading. They've been very interesting in a multiple different ways. Right, Amar?
Yeah, exactly. They've been peculiar. Thanks to all listeners, and please share us in the comment. What have you been read the last month? VNture out.
VNture out.